Zerlon 5 was not like other planets. It was a trade world full of noise, color, and life. Every species in the galaxy came here to trade, show off technology, or form new alliances. The planet's skies were filled with ships, and its markets were always crowded with beings of all shapes and sizes. In the heart of the capital, a grand event was taking place inside the High Dome Arena. Military leaders, scientists, and diplomats had gathered to witness the introduction of new elite recruits from several galactic empires. It was a tradition to show strength, unity, and talent. Commander Threx of the Varn Dominion stood tall on the stage. He was a powerful alien, nearly 8 feet tall, with tough red skin and yellow eyes that glowed faintly. His armor was heavy, covered in scars from many battles. The Varn were feared across the galaxy for their strength and aggression. Threx raised his arm, and the crowd grew quiet. "This," he shouted, pointing to a young Varn warrior beside him, "is my nephew, stronger than 10 humans, trained on the burning fields of Rotor. He once fought for 3 days without sleep." The crowd roared in approval. Cheers echoed from every corner. Then it was Earth's turn. A small platform rose from the floor, and on it stood a girl, quiet, calm, and motionless. She was not wearing heavy armor, just a simple black uniform. Her name was Lena Kai. Barely 20 years old, her face calm, her eyes unreadable. She looked nothing like a soldier. Her figure was light, and she didn't carry any weapons. Her hair was tied back, and her hands were folded in front of her. No medals, no scars. The crowd whispered. Then Threx laughed loudly. "Is this Earth's joke?" he shouted. "Is this your strongest warrior? A fragile little girl?" Others began to laugh too. Even some of the neutral delegates smirked. "She looks like she belongs in a library, not on a battlefield." Threx continued, clearly enjoying the attention. "The Varn could conquer Earth in less than a week if this is the best you can send." But Lena said nothing. She didn't react. She didn't frown or even flinch. She simply looked at Threx, then turned her eyes toward the crowd. Then she bowed. The laughter stopped for a moment. No one expected that. After the bow, Lena stepped down and left the stage. The humans did not defend her. They did not speak up. They followed silently, letting the moment pass. Behind the scenes, a Varn soldier leaned close to Threx. Strange behavior from the humans, he whispered. No anger, no challenge, no pride. "They know they're weak," Threx replied. "Let them send girls to war. We'll send warriors." But not everyone was so sure. A few commanders from other species watched with curiosity. There was something in Lena's eyes they couldn't explain. It wasn't fear. It was something colder. Something focused. Later that evening, in a quiet chamber inside the human embassy, Lena sat alone. Her superior officer, General Cross, entered the room. "You did well," he said. They laughed. Lena replied. "Yes," he said calmly. "Let them." She looked up at him, her expression calm. "Do I have permission to move forward with Phase 2? General Cross nodded. "It's already in motion. Commander Threx has been assigned to patrol the sector near Zeta-9, the same sector where we've detected Varn movement near the Ander Drift. And our team? On standby. But you will go alone." As planned, Lena stood and picked up a small black case from the table. "No weapons?" Cross asked. "I won't need them." The general gave a small smile. "They think you're weak." Lena's eyes were steady. "Then they've already lost." Outside, the lights of Zerlon 5 continued to shine, but something had shifted. The Varn laughed too soon, and the girl they mocked had already started preparing for a very different kind of war, one the galaxy would never forget. Not many knew who Lena Kai truly was. To most, she was just a quiet human girl with no armor, no weapons, and no reputation. But behind her calm face was a story that began in fire and pain. Years ago, when Lena was just a child, Earth was attacked. The sky turned red as enemy ships rained fire on cities. Her home in New Jakarta was one of the first to be hit. Her parents died in the first wave. She survived by hiding in an underground shelter for 3 days without food or light. When the rescue teams found her, she wasn't crying. She wasn't scared. She just asked, Is the war over? That moment changed everything. Lena was selected for a secret human program called Project Greywind. It was designed to train survivors, people who had lost everything to become something more, not just soldiers, but ghost warriors, fighters who didn't rely on strength but on speed, focus, and intelligence. The training was brutal. She learned how to move silently through space wreckage, how to disarm enemies twice her size, how to use shadows and silence as weapons. She studied alien behavior, ship systems, war tactics, and psychology. She spent hours every day in simulation pods, reliving enemy attacks, fighting again and again until her mind became sharper than steel. Her body was not built for lifting heavy weights, but it could move fast, dodge with perfect timing, and survive in low oxygen for extended periods. She was trained to use her enemy's strength against them. Her most dangerous weapon wasn't in her hands, it was her mind. Now, years later, Lena was ready, and her first real mission had already begun. Commander Threx, still laughing over his earlier joke, was sent to patrol the Zeta-9 sector near the Ander Drift. It was a region full of old ruins, dead moons, and abandoned mining stations. The Varn Dominion had been watching the area for hidden human activity. Now Threx was told to investigate. He brought with him a medium-sized fleet, nothing large, but enough to crush most threats in the region. His mood was proud and relaxed, too. This was an easy task. I'll use this mission to train our young soldiers, Threx told his officers. And if we find a few human scouts, maybe I'll capture one and send them back with a message. He didn't know Lena had already arrived. She came in a small, old human research vessel with damaged panels and flickering lights. It looked like a ship running from something, not toward it. Her craft floated near a dead moon, silent and still. Just another piece of space junk. But inside the ship, Lena sat in darkness, her hands on the controls. She had already studied Threx's past missions, his battle style, his strengths, and most importantly, his pride. She knew he would send soldiers first. He would not expect danger from a broken ship, and he would not come himself until it was too late. Back on the Varn ship, one of the officers called out, "Commander Threx, we've found something, an old human ship, no weapons, barely running, drifting near Moon 17. Threx grinned. "Send a team. Bring the human in alive. I want to ask her myself why she's so far from Earth." A squad of 6 Varn soldiers entered the research ship 20 minutes later. They moved carefully, their scanners active. The ship was empty, no sign of life. Then the lights went out. One by one, the Varn soldiers began to disappear. No screams, just silence. Their signals vanished from the monitors. Back on Threx's ship, confusion turned to concern. "We've lost contact," the officer said. "All 6, gone." "What?" Threx stood up. "Send another team." The second squad entered the ship. They had to move slowly, weapons ready. But before they could reach the control room, the ship's feed lit up. Lena appeared on the screen. She was standing in front of the camera alone. "Calm, unarmed, I warn you," she said softly. "But you laughed." The signal cut off. Then, suddenly, the old research ship came to life. Its panels turned red, its engines powered on. At that moment, human stealth drones decloaked from behind the moon, tiny, fast, and silent. They began jamming Varn signals and attacking communication relays. Threx watched in shock as his fleet systems started going dark one by one. She set a trap. One officer shouted. But it was too late. Lena had already begun her attack. Not with firepower, not with an army, but with silence, speed, and planning. The weak girl was not weak at all. She was everything Project Greywind had promised. And Threx was about to learn what it meant to laugh at a human and regret it. The control room of the Varn command ship was in chaos. Red lights flashed, alarms screamed, and officers rushed to regain control of systems that were shutting down one after another. Commander Threx stood in the center, eyes wide with disbelief. "How is this happening?" he growled. No one answered. The enemy wasn't visible. The human ship had been weak, unarmed, and alone. But now, It felt like they had walked into a trap that had been waiting for them all along. Report. Threx barked. Communication lines are down. Long-range scanners offline. Drones attacking our external relays, an officer replied, trying to stay calm. We believe there are human stealth fighters using the moon's shadow to block detection. Stealth fighters, Threx repeated, surprised. How many? We don't know. We can't see them. Threx clenched his fists. Then we'll send ground troops to capture the human girl. Bring me her head. But as the drop pods launched toward the old research ship, Lena had already moved on. She wasn't inside the ship anymore. She had used the ship as bait just as she had predicted. Threx sent his troops in first, expecting weakness. She had taken out both squads without firing a single shot. Pressure traps, shock pulses, and silent takedowns had done the job. Now, she moved through the shadows of the dead moon, using its jagged surface to stay hidden. Her black suit blended perfectly with the moon's stone. Her helmet gave her a clear view of Varn patrol patterns. She was fast, quiet, and calculating. She had one goal: break Threx's fleet, piece by piece, without ever facing them directly. Inside the Varn fleet, small drones continued disabling. Systems each one launched by Lena hours earlier. The Varn didn't know that the old ship wasn't just bait, it had been a delivery system. Dozens of hidden drones had been released in silence and had attached themselves to the Varn ships while they were distracted, and now they were doing their work. Engine controls froze. Internal doors locked. Lights flickered. Weapons failed to fire. Panic spread across the fleet. Seal all hangars. One officer shouted. Too late. To drones already inside Engineering Deck 4. Another yelled. Threx slammed his fist on the command table. This is not a war. This is a game of shadows. He shouted. We are warriors, not cowards, but it didn't matter. Lena was fighting a different kind of war, one the Varn were not prepared for. She knew their pride would make them act quickly. She knew they wouldn't expect one human to be so dangerous. And she knew they would waste time trying to catch her instead of understanding her tactics from her position on the moon's surface. Lena watched the chaos through her helmet screen. She could hear the Varn channels breaking down. Confused orders, shouting, fear. Then she activated her next move. With a silent command from her wrist device, the drones inside the enemy fleet began releasing signal loops, fake commands, and false targets. The Varn ships started turning on each other. Threx's own patrol ships locked weapons on his command vessel. Thinking it was compromised, stop firing. Threx screamed, that's our own ship. But they couldn't hear him. His signal was jammed. Lena moved again, sliding down a rocky slope without a sound. She reached a hidden drop pod that she had buried earlier. Inside it was a set of hacking tools and a stealth glider. Her plan wasn't finished yet. She wasn't going to destroy the fleet from the outside. She was going in, within minutes. Her glider launched from the moon's surface and silently attached to the hull of Threx's command ship. No one saw it. No one heard it. She entered through an emergency maintenance hatch and slipped into the shadows of the corridor. The ship was massive, but Lena had memorized every room, every passage. She had studied its design for weeks. Now it was time to finish what she started. Threx stood in the command room, breathing hard. His fleet was falling apart, and he still didn't know how. This is impossible, he whispered. It's just one human. But then, the lights in the command room flickered, and Lena stepped out of the shadows. Unarmed, calm, silent. The same girl he had laughed at, the same girl he had called weak. She looked him in the eyes. You shouldn't have laughed, she said softly. Threx reached for his weapon, but it was too late. The room went dark. The command room went dark. Only the emergency red lights remained. Alarms had stopped. Weapons were locked. Commander Threx stood still, his hand frozen halfway to his blaster. Across from him, Lena stood quietly, her black suit blending with the shadows. Her face was calm, her breath steady. You, Threx said at last, his voice low. How did you get in here? Lena didn't answer. She simply walked forward, slow and sure. There was no fear in her steps, no hesitation, it made Threx angry and nervous. You are just one human, he growled. One weak little girl. Lena tilted her head slightly. Then why is your fleet falling apart? Threx's hand grabbed his weapon, but Lena was faster. In a blink, she pressed a switch on her wrist. A sudden electric pulse fired from her suit, and Threx's weapon sparked, then fell from his hand, dead and useless. The guards around the room tried to react, but their controls were frozen. Every security door had been locked by Lena's earlier hack. No one could enter. No one could leave. This is not war, Threx shouted. This is trickery. No, Lena said quietly. This is strategy. She walked to the main command console and plugged in a small device. Within seconds, every screen lit up again, only now they showed one thing, Lena's symbol, a white wind swirl, the sign of Project Greywind. Every ship in Threx's fleet could now see her. Every soldier, every officer, even those far from the command ship. Lena's calm face appeared on all screens. This is Lena Kai of Earth. She spoke into the mic. You were told I was weak. You were told I was alone. That was your mistake. She paused. You have one choice now. Power down your systems. Return to Dominion space. If you do, I won't destroy your remaining ships. But if you continue forward, I will finish what I started. Her message ended. The command room was silent. Threx stared at her, confused and angry. You think you can threaten the Varn Dominion? Lena didn't answer. She turned away and walked toward the back exit, calm as ever. Just before she stepped out, she looked back at Threx. You brought a hammer to a chessboard, she said, and you never learned the rules. With that, she vanished into the corridor. Threx tried to give new orders, but nothing worked. His officers were silent. Some stared at the screens, others whispered in fear. Soon, messages came from other ships. Sir, our systems are still frozen. We've lost contact with Deck 5. Half the fleet is retreating. The Varn commanders on other ships were not fools. They had seen enough. One human had disabled their entire formation using nothing but planning, speed, and silence. It wasn't magic. It was skill. And that scared them more than weapons. Lena, now back in her stealth glider, left the command ship silently. She didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She just focused on the next step from orbit. She watched as the Varn fleet began to break apart. One ship turned back, then another, and another. Within minutes, most of the Varn force had powered down their weapons and changed direction. Only Threx's ship remained behind, burning with shame. Inside, Threx stood alone in the command room. He knew his name would now be spoken across the galaxy not as a hero, but as a warning. The alien who laughed too soon. The commander who was beaten by a weak human girl. His pride was broken. His anger was deep, but he could not deny the truth. She had won. Not through force, through precision, through preparation. Through patience. And the worst part? She hadn't even needed to hurt anyone. No deaths, no war, just skill. That night, across many worlds, Lena's message spread. Some laughed in surprise, others watched in silence. But everyone now knew one thing. Humans were not weak, not anymore. And Lena Kai had become the name. That proved it. The news spread fast, across countless star systems. From bustling spaceports to quiet trading outposts. The story of Lena Kai and the Varn Dominion fleet became the talk of the galaxy. At first, many found it hard to believe. A single human girl, unarmed, had faced down one of the most feared alien commanders and won without firing a shot. But the proof was clear. Video feeds showed Lena's calm face on every screen of the disabled Varn ships. The symbol of Project Greywind flew across. Their command console is like a silent warning. For the Varn Dominion, it was a blow to their pride. Commander Threx's defeat was a scandal. His name was whispered in shame by other officers. Many wondered how they had been outsmarted so easily by a species they had long considered weak. In the years before, the galaxy had ignored Earth. Humans were seen as simple and untrained, easy prey for larger empires. But Lena changed everything. She reminded the galaxy that humans had patience, intelligence, and courage, strengths that could not be measured by size or weapons alone. on Earth. The news was met with quiet pride. General Cross watched the reports with a small smile. Lena's work is not over, he told his team, but this victory will open new doors. The galaxy will watch us now. Lena herself returned home silently. She did not seek fame or glory. The girl who had once survived underground shelters now walked quietly through her city streets. Children stared at her, whispering her name like a legend. But Lena was not a legend. She was a soldier, a guardian, and she knew her mission had only just begun. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other empires began to take notice. Traders, diplomats, and spies worked harder to understand the humans. Some feared them. Others respected them. The peaceful message Lena sent was clear. Humans were ready to defend their home not with endless wars, but with smart, careful strategy. Even Commander Threx lived on. Though his defeat had broken his pride, it also changed him. He became a warning to others: never underestimate the quiet ones, the ones who seem weak. Lena's name became a symbol, not just for humans, but for anyone who had ever been laughed at or underestimated. In the years that followed, Project Greywing grew. More human soldiers trained in silence and strategy, ready to face threats with brains over brawn. The galaxy slowly learned that humans were different, not weak, but fierce in their own way. And Lena, she stayed in the shadows, always watching, always preparing, because she knew that the galaxy was vast and threats were still out there. But now, the galaxy knew one thing for sure: underestimate a human at your own risk.